Hello and welcome everyone to the AFL Fantasy Fanatics round review. We are recording on Sunday the 28th of May after the completion of round 11 of the AFL Fantasy season. I am your host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Tim Guest. Well, after some big scoring weeks, we kind of crashed back to earth, well, for some coach anyway, while for others, including Hat Chat's own Sanch, took the opportunity to charge up the ranks with some sneaky good captain choices. Another coach should be pretty damn happy with his captain choice this week is Bales DT. Bales, mate, how was your week? Where are you ranked? Who was your plus and minus three?
Yeah, Tim, at least ended on a good note. It was a tough round for not only me, but plenty of coaches out there. So, yeah, a few bullets thrown around. And it wasn't just obviously during the round. Obviously, a lot of coaches, as we all know, we had all those rookie carnage before the round started. So, and then obviously Oliver Johannesson and Josh Kelly bullets. But I scored a 20.92. Considering I had a couple of those guys go sub 50, I guess it's not the worst in the world, but that put me at a round rank of 35,131. Overall rank is slipped down to 8,925, so I went down just over 2,000 spots, which is a little disappointing, but I'm hoping that my team is set up well for the bye so I can make that ground up and hopefully then some. So in terms of plus and minus three, I'll go the minus first because a few obviously minuses there. So I could put them all together, but I'll who am I going to go? Because three, I know probably that a few of them will be there. Actually, I'll go.
I'll go. Give it to your boy.
I'll go Rat Pasta for the -3 for first. So, yeah, I'll get that away first. Yeah, -3 for the Rat Pasta. I'll put them as a duo together because when we need them for the buys, they decide right on the eve that they're going to dish up 30s, and there's a chance Roy Atkins gets dropped because he was subbed out, and then who knows with Fiorini. So, they get the -3. But +3, you were correct. It has to go to my boy Roy Laird, back-to-back 131s. It was just a joy watching him rack up those tackles again against a pretty tough Brisbane Lions team. So very, very happy with him. And, if you don't have Laird, I think you've got to probably jump on now because he looks like he's back to what he's been doing in the past.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, let's turn it over to our guest, mate. It's hard to introduce this guy. He really doesn't need any introduction. He's a rookie expert of DT Talk fame. He's one half of the Plus Six podcast. He's one of the best minds and best blokes in fantasy football. It's Jeppa DT, mate. How was your week? How are you ranked? And who is your plus and minus three?
Wow, thanks for the G up, mate. Every time I need a pump up, I might just come on. I
might try and get a job at the Wildcats or something like that.
Yeah, that's good entertainment there. I scored 2,243. Had a decent week. Overall rank is first time I'm in the top 10,000, 9,567. So it's been a hard slog for me and all the hits I've copped. +3, we'll go the positive first. We'll go Taranto. He was just sensational, just smashed every stat line, including 4 goals in the end. One just after the siren, I think, or just before the siren. So really, really good. My -3, I'm going to give it to a rookie because I don't give a shit. Cam McKenzie, 31. You've got to do better than that, mate, when you're in the midfield. You had a midfield role and you pump out a 31. That's not good enough. So, yeah, well, onwards to round 12. Looking forward to now getting serious where the big separation starts now for the bye rounds.
I'll just quickly cut in with Jep +3. I find it hilarious that Taranto did that against Port Adelaide. Obviously, Kane Corn's former Port Adelaide player. If people haven't heard what he said, just check what he said before. But yeah, I think he's in the top 150 players in the AFL after that performance.
Pretty comfortably.
Yeah. Shout out to Odin York as well, who was talking about trading him after round 1. He's going to love that shout out. All right, well, turning to my team. So I scored 21.53, and good job, mate, getting back inside the top 10,000, obviously just before the buys as well. So you got a bit of an opportunity to move there. So, we'll see what happens. But, a bit of a disappointing week for me, 21.53. Had me round ranked for about 20,000, slid, I'll call it 400 spots to 13.58. A couple of 30s on the field hurts in terms of the Rat Pasta, so they'll get my -3 as well. But I'll throw the +3 to Jordan Dawson, 135. Just another keeps on doing what he does and smash that out.
Good.
So Yeah, pretty happy from him, but yeah, disappointed to slide. But once again, it's the week before the buys. 3 trades this week. It's now time to get busy. So let's turn our attention to the games. Kicking us off with the first game of the week, Sydney defeating Carlton by 26 points at the SCG. So Hewitt went down early, which had many thinking that Kennedy owners might benefit, but they didn't. Another injury to the Blues will also see Hollands drop cash this week, but most eyes were on Goulden and some with a VC on him. But once again, like a lot of our primos this week, just a bit meh.
Yep. Well, the good thing is Locket's just lifted, so as we're recording, which is great. So we'll be able to go through like all the prices will be all updated, which will be fantastic. So we had Jake Lloyd top scoring 123. He was very good. He's had a pretty good year, sort of a bit of a low key under the radar. So he's been good. Maybe a target off the round 12 buy if you're looking for a defender there. Sam Walsh, 112. Jep, I know you'd be happy, but he didn't quite get his forward status with Hewitt going out playing predominantly midfield in this game. So he's been great. But I want to ask you about Sam Doherty. So 108 points, just continues to get it done really since he's been back. Is he a player that people can look to bring in, or because it's obviously a tricky week as we head into the round 12 bye, is he someone you'd be happy to target if it doesn't affect your buys too much?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't affect the buys. So he's a ball winner. Carlton got quite a few injuries. I can't see them changing game plan before the bye. They may relook at a few things during the bye break, the coaching staff that is. So yeah, real big target. I could do it, but just reluctant with those round 15 primos at the minute.
Yeah, that's a good point. But the good thing is, if he's playing that little bit of midfield, he's getting that. He had 6 marks, 7 tackles, which is quite nice to bump that score up. So if he can get a few more marks there and maybe play a bit more half back and keep those tackles up, we could see some monster scores heading into the back half of the year. Errol Goulden, 101. Probably, as watching this, I was a little bit frustrated. It seemed like he got a fair few points in bunches, and 38 points quarter time. I was thinking, licking my lips, thinking, here we go, good VC to lock away. But 101, you still take it, but would have been good if it was a huge VC score. Adam Chera, 90. Keep scrolling down here. Luke Parker, only 75, so I think that crosses him off a lot of people's list there. And Matt Kennedy, so if anyone's got Matt Kennedy out there, so new DPPs have been released post this round. So Matt Kennedy, if anyone's got him, has got defender status, which has been interesting. I didn't expect him to get that, but with defender status, maybe keep him to his bite round 15, then you can offload him there. Ollie Hollands, Tim, was subbed out on 40 for the third week in a row. I think this time was an injury though. It's a bit of a shoulder concern. So a bit disappointing. I think we're all off of Hollands now. But if he's out, you'd imagine, would you still be advising coaches to maybe jump off if he's out?
Oh, he's going to be dropping cash,
he's got an AC joint, so I think it's pretty semi-serious. So
yeah,
I would be trading him out.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go. Because I wasn't exactly sure. I knew it was a shoulder concern, but I wasn't sure. So yeah, if it's an AC, he could be out for a few weeks. Nick Newman was also subbed. I know he wasn't subbed out, but he was just like didn't play it the rest of the game, and he got 27. So hopefully he wasn't your pod defender because he put up a.
Jeff, do you know what happened to Hewitt?
Newman did a hammy, a stuff. He was injured.
Yes, yeah, hammy. Yeah, I think it was like in the third quarter. I think memory.
Yeah, that's right.
And then George Hewitt as well got concussed. So yeah, he was out. So Carlton, a few injuries. So. So Tim, I'll go to you for this one. That could be good for the likes of maybe your Chincotters, maybe Cowan if he's there in the mix. But you've also got, I think I'll ask Jeff about these two, but Jackson Binns could potentially be a guy to come in. So Tim first, about maybe Chincotter and Cowan. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I just think a lot of us would have jumped off both of them by now. Like, we probably would have taken advantage of the cash. But, yeah, I mean, if you probably still got either of them, might come back into the side next week.
And then, Jep, just a bit of maybe a word on maybe Jackson Binns for anyone who doesn't know about him, maybe comes into Carlton's side with all the injuries.
Yeah, so he's a winger, plays pretty much the Hollands role. So hopefully he comes in this week. That'd be sensational. And he's been in really good form. His kick's not the greatest, his possession, but he's been finding a heap of it in the VFL. So I'd hope with their injuries he'd come in.
Yep. Do you have his price there at all? I'm not sure. I think he's is he mid 200s?
Give me a sec. Yeah, I think he's 232.
And then the other one
238.
here,
238 mid forward.
Yep, so he's a good price. So could be a guy that we could jump on as a downgrade. And then Lachlan McAndrew, only 18 points. So If anyone went early on him this week, there's a bit of a chance he's not there post the bye. So hopefully he can hold, but we'll have to see.
Come on, McAndrew.
That'll be it for that game, Tim. Not too many there, but we'll move on to the Saturday games.
Sure, mate. All right. Well, St Kilda defeated by Hawthorn by 10 points at Marvel, man. So who let the dog out? Sick dog went big, but he's also been given a week off from the MRO, depending, of course, on whether they appeal that or not. But Jack Steele, on the other hand, went low this week. I know you're pretty disappointed with how he went Bales, but there are a couple of popular trade-in options in this game in terms of Sinclair and Weddle as well.
Yeah, well, Tim, I'll go to you for the first one here. But so the sick dog went huge with a 165, and I know that a few people, I think it was Sanch had him VC, so that would have been nice. A few people, I think Louis as well had him VC, so a few people would have been able to take that. But obviously, you're extremely happy with that 165, but he's got a week from the MRO. So what would you be doing for those coaches out there? Because he misses this week, and unless they challenge it, but I still think it won't be. I think it'll be upheld. But then he's going to miss round 14, so he's missing 2 of the next 3 weeks. So is that a trade?
But don't forget don't forget it's only 18 this week though. So I think you might, and because we're not that low on players for this week, I think it would probably be a hold.
Yeah, I've actually seen a fair few people saying they may struggle to get 18 this week with a few like red dots and forced trades. Okay. So that's why I sort of raised the question, mate, if they got Sicily. But
I mean, I know we had a lot of what was it? Jaden put out a tweet. Was it the average was 5.5 red dots for the top 100 last week? But even still, that's on our bench, man. Like, we're only 18 players playing this
Hopefully
week.
You don't have too many of those primos on buy or anything like that. So hopefully you'll be okay. But I thought I'd raise that point because, 2 of the next 3 weeks is going to be a bit of a hurt for the coaches.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to get off him.
Next one. So, Jeff, I know you like a good pod, and I've looked at this guy I was just thinking if he can break through and put up a good score, he's Dylan Moore, 126. He's under 700K. Break even this week was, he's now 694K. So he's under 700. He's got that round 14 bye, which not many of those forwards have got. Could he be a bit of a play for coaches during the buys?
Yeah, I don't mind it. He's got to push. Now that Hawthorn, see how Hawthorn have been up and about last few weeks and he's scoring well. So is that trend going to continue? Because I think that's relevant to how Moore's going to score. So, yeah, I don't mind it. It's like you said, the round 14 primos, there's not that many in the forward line. So it could work for a lot of coaches.
Yeah, well, there is another certain forward that maybe could be an option on that round 14 buy, but we'll get to him a little bit later on. Brad Crouch, 114. So interesting spot for people that own him. I know Holmesy owns him, so whether you trade or whether you hold, it's a bit of an interesting one there. So see what coaches do with him, but good score nonetheless. Will Day, 101. Good to see him respond after a couple of sub 100 scores, but look very, very good, 101. So I think he'll still be around top 6. So a few coaches were thinking about trading, but I still think he's a good hold. Colin Ash keeps getting it done. I mentioned him last week. I know Zave would be very happy. His boy doing well. Ryan Marshall, 96. Bit disappointing. That a lot of coaches had in the VC. I know Ned Reeves is quite a restrictive ruck, so that's probably why. But Ryan Marshall, I just said Ryan Marshall. Jack Sinclair, Jep, so 82, not the greatest score, but is he still a good target for coaches to look at post-buy?
Yeah, he's been a bit up and down, hasn't he? I don't know. I think, post-buy, you'd look at it to see how he goes. He's been up and down, round 12 by. I just think there's better targets. Like, a lot of us don't have Brayshaw or Sarong. I think they're more prime targets to go for than Sinclair coming into the buys. And then, I'm more a wait and see on Jack Sinclair.
Yep, and the flag I would raise as well is he does have Sydney at the SCG, so it could be a bit of a Ryan Clark tag maybe there in that first game post-buy. So coach will have to consider that when looking at him. Jack Steele, I'm very, very frustrated. Another 78, just only 14 touches as well. Just isn't getting it done. I don't think. Jep, you don't have Steele, do you?
No, I traded Steele last week to Merritt. And then he pumped out that 125, which was frustrating. But this week he did what I thought he would do last week.
What are your thoughts on Steele? Like, I've a coach that got him. He's got the buy. You probably don't want to trade him because he's going to be hopefully that sort of top 8 mid, but he's just not putting those numbers up. Got 3 sub 90 scores in the last 4 weeks.
I just look at the added body language and hunger, and he just doesn't have it. So I'm completely off him.
Yeah. What would you be? Coaches that have got him? Would you be trading?
Yeah, no. If you're an owner, I wouldn't be trading him during the buy round. Well, obviously not this week. You'd hold it through the buy rounds and then reassess the top mids after that.
Yep.
Do we think he's still got a bit of an injury? Like, he's been banged up the last few weeks a bit as well. Do we think he's
sure
maybe
he's
a bit
playing with
injured?
something.
Might come good after his buy.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's playing with something. It's just the body language. It's down and it's out. So, yeah, he in that sense he might take good effect to the week off, freshen up the body, and come back hungry in round 13, 14, and then see from there. But I wouldn't be trading him if I was an owner.
Yeah, watching
Not
him
now, anyway.
Yeah, watching him at the moment, he actually reminds me a bit of Matt Rowell of last year, where he's staying in the middle of the ground between the 50s, not really pushing out to the wings to get his +6s like we know he can when he's going at that one sort of 15, 120. So that's the one thing that's probably concerning. Still tackling, which is fine, but yeah, it's just a bit of a concern. Hopefully he can come good post-buys, but I'm sure that he's still carrying something to do because he did sort of have some sort of medial issue, so I know that doesn't go away in a week. So hopefully he'll be good post-buy. Warple, 76. Probably just chugging along with solid enough scores, but coach probably offload him at his round 14 bye. Seamus Mitchell copped a bit of a knee knock late in the game. I don't know if you boys, if any of you guys have seen any update or anything like that, but I'm not sure what his prognosis going forward is. Have you guys heard anything about that? Or
no, but I'm very keen to see what is going on there because I'm an owner. And we don't want injuries during the bye round, especially like the week that we've had. Sicily potentially out. Although, if you ever want a player to be suspended, it's now. Hollands, Seamus Mitchell, a couple of others that we'll get to.
Yep. Scrolling down here, Stocker as well, 64. It's his bye this week. He's definitely one guy that you'd look to offload this week. He's done solid enough, but yeah, you want to jump off him. Philippou, 59. Now, Jep, I'll ask you about this one with the rookies. So, Philippou, 59. With all the red dots that coach had got in, can you afford to trade a guy that's going to be a green dot through the buys, or because he's got so much cash on him, you'd move him, or because he's going to play, would you hold him?
It just depends on everyone's structure, obviously. Like, I've got a lot of red dots on my bench, and Philippou ain't going anywhere. So priority one is fixing the red dots on your bench because you need as many playing players as you can get. So, yeah, on that basis, for the majority coaches, I assume they're struggling with their benches. I would say it's definitely a hold. And that goes for all round 12 players to this point, right? So anyone that you've had to now that you've got right now that are round 12 and a regular in the 22 of their respective teams, you're holding them, really.
Yeah, that's right. Crap. Apparently, we don't have any audio on the YouTube stream, which is fantastic. Josh Weddle as well with a 55. That's obviously solid enough. I didn't have him on field, but just making a bit of cash there as well. So getting it done and moving down here. Obviously, Cam McKenzie mentioned before, Jet with only 31. So, yeah, I think he'd be a trade maybe in a couple of weeks or even this week.
Yeah, I actually don't have many round 12 players in itself. So I may look to offload him this week, just depending on injuries and suspensions.
Yeah. And that's it from that one. Tim, I think we'll move to the next game.
Awesome. Well, happened last year. Same time, same round. Melbourne defeated by Freo by 7 points at the MCG. So there was a big injury early in the game to Sean Darcy. I think you had him, Bales. Is that right?
That is correct, unfortunately.
Yeah. So possibly a couple of options that people might be looking at in terms of Gawn and Grundy. Both had good games, obviously, for Melbourne there. And then newsflash, Angus Brayshaw finally did something.
Yep. Yeah, he could potentially be an option. So actually, I'll talk about him first, actually. So, Tim, are you looking at him as an option? I don't know exactly what his CBAs were, but he put up a decent enough score.
Oh, look, not initially.
He did not have one
CBA later in the week.
Freo.
Didn't he? Yeah, so no. Maybe it was just I saw him fight up, kind of chesting up to his brother a few times. So maybe he was just pumped up to play his brother.
Yeah, that could be. Petrarca, 116. Jep, I know you're an owner, so you'd be very happy with the solid score there.
Yeah, not really good from him. Pretty much expected with Oliver out. So, yeah, his CBAs were up to 81%, 64% the week before.
Yeah, and then obviously we said about Sean Darcy. That was I knew it was coming. Darcy does this every year. I actually thought about trading him out this week with the Melbourne matchup and trying to get prepared for buys, but I thought no, I'll hold him for the week and whatever. But yeah, unfortunately went down with a hamstring. He started scoring well as well towards that the first half of the second quarter, but he went down. But depending on the severity, Luke Jackson. Is anyone interested post-buy under 700? Well, he'll be about that 700k mark. Is anyone tempted by him?
Not at all. Not at that price. If it was below 600, then sure. But he's just too expensive to muck around with. I mean, Darcy Cameron's a lot cheaper, isn't he?
Might be about 40, 50k cheaper, yes, a little bit.
Just the buy round and the switcheroos and what you're looking at there. So I've got Tim English round 15. Is Collingwood round 15 or 14? No,
14, yeah, 14.
Collingwood's 14, so that's where Darcy Cameron comes in, potentially, and then Rowan Marshall. So I'm going to consider Darcy Cameron.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get into a bit more talk with him because I'm also interested in him. Caleb Sarong, 104, just keeps getting it done. So the way they're playing, there's no reason why Sarong and Brayshaw can't both average around those top 8 mids. And we know Brayshaw will be one of those top 8. So 103, Brayshaw, he'll be a target for many coaches post-buy. Hayden Young, Tim, post-buy, another 98. So just getting it done. Is he a guy that you might look at post-buy, or are you looking at other options instead?
Yeah, it doesn't fill me with a huge amount of confidence, although he could be an option, but yeah, not particularly attractive.
Yep. Scrolling down here for more O'Meara. If anyone had O'Meara as a bit of a pod, I know a couple of people might have jumped on him, bit of a cheap price, but he's been offered a week for dangerous tackle. So if you did have him with the buy this week, it's probably a good time to move him on because he'll miss round 13 as well. So he's a trade for me. Brayshaw, we talked about just then. Max 91, so he missed out on DPP by 0.1%. So it's a matter of probably a couple of CBAs, which is really frustrating for those coaches that maybe jumped on hoping to get forward status. But with Darcy going down, is he an option to maybe jump on, Jep? Or are you going to English if you don't have him or Marshall?
So I think English and Marshall, the play, like it's just a straight bat with the rucks, isn't it? English hasn't had the best 2 weeks for his standards, but he's still going to be the top ruck going around. So I'm very much in the English and Marshall camp from here on out.
Yeah. Tim, are you agreeing with that as well?
100%.
Yep. I knew you'd say that, mate. That's why I asked you. So you've been the English and Marshall whole year, and you were big on that pretty much from the get-go since we started doing the pod. So scrolling down here, Salem, we just want to see something, but another 78, probably not. He's cheap, but we want to see more if we were even going to be jumping on him. Matt Johnson, 68, Jep. So he looked pretty impressive again for Freo. Do you expect him to stay in that 22 post there by?
I do. I just worry with Freo and their management of the younger players. I just can't guarantee Matty Johnson won't get a vest in the next 2-3 weeks. So as good as he is when he does get the opportunity, there's no injuries at Freo that suggest that, Amira's going to miss a week. So in round 13, assuming Amira misses a week, that is, if he goes round 13, that's great. But they didn't even play Erasmus as the sub. They went with Sturt. So, yeah, it's a lot of chopping and changing. It's not one that I want to deal with right now in the buys. Could you imagine trading him in and then he gets a vest and you're really relying on him to play? Yeah. It's not a good ploy.
Yeah, as a guy that jumped on him before he got suspended, I'm hoping he stays in that 22. Nat Fyfe, he only dropped to 55, but is anyone interested because of how cheap he is, or we're just not going there?
No, I'm very much interested. He had a lot of possessions inside ball. I'm just going to weigh it up around 13 and see what the damage is. He's just too cheap to ignore potentially if there's some sort of problem, with a common player.
Yeah, we can just go cheap rookie over to him.
Almost 50% CBAs.
Yeah, and he's going to drop around that 440, 450k. So it's really, really cheap. Could be that play. I know, Jep, you were a fan last year of like keeping a Dacos and having him at like your D7 and M9. Could be a play where maybe Fyfe becomes your M9 or F7.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not going to be the Fife of old, but I think his ceiling's about 85, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah, agreed. Van Rooyen with a 49, just ticks over a little bit more cash gen, ran 14. A lot of coaches probably jump off him. And that is it from that game. So, Jet, we'll move on to the next game. Yes.
Or Timbo.
Sorry, Tim. Yeah, sorry, Tim. Yeah, move on. Let's go. Sorry.
All good, mate. All good. So Geelong defeated by GWS, man. So on a bit of a side note, mate of mine had a multi on the weekend on Saturday for all the underdogs to win, and it got pretty bloody close. The Eagles were the only one that did. But in mentioning this, like GWS beating Geelong by 7 points at GMHBA Stadium. So Tommy Stewart spat out only his second 120 for the year. Hopefully he's starting to get warmed up now. I think Cogs also might have gone big in this game with Kelly out, but like many of the primos this week, the scoring was okay, but just not great. And then the debut that we'd been waiting for, Josh Fay, came on as the sub and had a 6.
Yeah, but there was another rookie that impressed. So I'll actually ask Jeff about this one first. So Oishan, I hope I said that first name correctly, Mullen. So he was pretty impressive. He didn't score huge, but he still put up what did he end up putting up? A 56, and he looked solid with the ball. I was talking in a group chat, and I'm very pro bringing him in round 14 post-bye to make sure he's playing. Are you of that same mindset, Jep, that you'd wait this week, see how he plays, and then wait again after his bye and bring him in then? Or would you be happy for the coach to jump on him this week?
No, I would not jump on this week. I think Geelong are due back a few players post-bye, so not looking at it till after the bye. Again, much like Matty Johnson, we just can't be bringing in rooks now, and then they don't play during the bye rounds. It'd be catastrophic.
Yeah, agreed. But hopefully he's there around 14 and coach can jump on him around then. Tom Stewart, as you mentioned, Tim was very good with a 121. Tom Green, solid as well with a 108 in a tough matchup. Lockie, last name starts with a W this week, Tim. No S for that one. So, yes. Whitfield, mate, so you would have been happy bringing him in.
Yeah, I was. I reckon it was his best game of the season.
Yeah, I will. As the commentary team said, I think that was his best game for probably a few years. He looked back to that, like the Whitfield of old, breaking lines, hitting up targets, and being damaging. So, do you see him being a top 6 defender? Because you take out that 40 at the start of the year, he's averaging around that 97, 98 mark.
I must admit, I haven't had a close look at the defenders and how they're scoring at the moment. But I don't know if I'd tip him as a top 6. He might be just around about a top 10 or 12. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's an option to bring in.
But yeah,
I'm happy with him.
He's upwards of 820k, and when you've got a guy that like when he was 720, he's a bit more expensive. You've got maybe guys that aren't too much further up that are probably going to be lot for top 6. So I would agree with that, but a good guy if you did bring him in with a good score. Brent Daniels keeps getting it done. Another back-to-back 100, so we did sort of miss him at the start of the year. Lockie Ash, I was very happy that he was able to respond in a tough game down in Geelong with a 95, so hopefully hold him through to his round 15 bye, then offload him then. Now, Jeremy Cameron, 94. Is anyone tempted by Jeremy Cameron with the round 13 bye, or because he's a key forward, we're not going near him?
No, it's not for me. It's not something I've ever done, really. And I'm not going to start now. With key forwards, that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to use the bye rounds to improve my team, and bringing someone like that in is not... I don't know. Yeah, I want to... Yeah.
Not on your shopping list.
No, exactly.
Cogs 91. Coach probably hoping for a little bit more with Josh Kelly not there, but I'm sure Cogs will be fine. Giants have got a pretty nice run until their bye coming up, so Cogs will be fine. If you've got him, scrolling down the list here, Finn Callaghan got some more inside mid-time with 11 CBAs with Josh Kelly being out. He was solid with a 75. So if Coach had got him, you probably could keep holding him through to his bye. He just keeps pumping out solid enough scores there. Perryman didn't get that bump that we were hoping, only 59 points. So, yeah, he crossed himself off as an option for a lot of coaches if they were looking at him. Mitch Nevitt came on as a sub. Jep, I know you flagged this a couple of weeks ago when Nevitt was being talked about as an option that he's good. Chris Scott doesn't like rookies, does he?
No, he really doesn't, mate. It's just what's the young fella, the Clark, I think, the top draft pick that they got.
Jai Clark, yeah.
Yeah, Jai Clark, with drawn a blank. Yeah, he'd be playing every week in most sides, but not with Chris Scott.
I think he's injured at the moment, actually. I think he had
he got injured last week, yeah.
Yeah, but you're obviously saying he should have played earlier.
Yeah, even before that. Like, it's just not something they do.
Jep, do you think that Faye might come into the 22 or?
No, I don't actually. I thought if it was ever going to happen, it was going to happen a while ago. But so they're so set in their ways with Ash and Whitfield at halfback, and they've been pretty sturdy there with their fitness. So they moved Faye to a wing in the VFL to get him to learn a new role because they're a bit soft in the wing spots. Obviously, Callahan's got one, and the other one was up for grabs. So, yeah, they maybe it was initiation. It could happen. He obviously can find the footy, and he's got a booming left foot kick. So he's an asset to the team, and I think they acknowledge that. But yeah, mate, hopefully I'm wrong, and he does come in next week. If he is named next week and not the sub, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'd jump on because they've given every rook that they've played, other than really Fleeton, a decent crack at it.
Yeah, be very interesting to see if he comes in.
Let's hope so. Let's freaking hope so.
Well, Jep, move on to the next game. These two games aren't the Gold Coast Bulldogs game has certainly got a lot of carnage from it.
Yeah, well, how does a game sound if Matt Rowell and Jack McRae are the two top scorers, especially after we've seen our relationship with them over the last couple of years? And then it gets worse because Bailey Smith had a 67. And then we can talk about Fiorini and Atkins, which had a 33 and a 30. So I'm handing it over to you to try and save this one, mate.
I think we have to start with the rat pasta. The rat pasta dish that we got served on Saturday night was pretty disgusting.
It stunk.
It's one that you would have sent back to the waiter and probably had a go at the owners of the place because it was disgusting. But boys, there's a chance that Atkins gets dropped after being the sub, and Fiorini, he played so much game time for such a little score play on that wing. They got another game at TIO Stadium. Are we jumping off? It's tough because we didn't want to jump off them because we need them through for the next few weeks. But have we just got to sort of cut ties?
I think Atkins you do, or you need to plan to anyway, because he got to move forward. So he played a forward role. They played Joel Jeffrey back there, and I think Ben Long came back in. And then Freya or Farrar, whatever his name is, was sub. So I think Atkins is on the outer. So I'd be planning to trade him. Fiorini you'd probably stick it out with, given the situation. Again, I'm just anticipating everyone's got some buy balance to look at with all of this. So, I think Atkins is, it's not ideal. It's probably 3 weeks early, but he's done his job in terms of cash generation at least.
Yeah, unfortunately,
we knew this was the risk.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, he's stayed in the team longer than we thought he was going to.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not going to drop cash either.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly right.
Let's call it a win. Even though it's a 30.
Well, I'm a non-owner with Atkins, and I think it is a win for his owners. I think he's been spectacular and generated a lot of coin in a short amount of time.
It reminds me a little bit, not as good, but a little bit like the Johannesson, where he drops that bad score and obviously injury for Johannesson, but it's sort of he's made good cash and you can offload him. So I think that he will be out, which is probably a little bit disappointing because he probably wants to play this week against his former side in Adelaide, but I don't think he will be. Matt,
I don't know. On his salary, he's probably happy to sit on the sidelines at home and watch it on TV.
Yeah, he may well do, that's for sure. Matt Rao, 124. He's just looking very, very good at the moment. Another 29 touches with 7 tackles and 124. He's too expensive for us to consider now as an option, so not for me. Jack McRae, 123. Now, the fact he's got forward status, Tim, any interest there? He's going to be around the 800K mark.
For my own mental health, I don't think I could do it.
He's had a good 2 weeks. I know Treloar's been out of the side, but I think even when Treloar comes back into the team, they'll be slightly more conservative with him. It's just, again, it's this round 15 buy that's a killer. If he didn't have the round 15 buy, I think I would have done it straight away. So I'm very much interested. Yeah, 54% CBAs on the weekend.
Yeah, had that bump.
Those dogs, though, they're just... I mean, look at Bailey Smith this week. Well, speaking of the dogs. But Bailey Smith this week, I mean, 67 after, what was he, 120 last week?
Yeah.
Did he get moved out at all? Is that what happened? Bales, I know you were watching this game.
He went closer to that 50%. It was pretty much him and McRae split halfway down instead of last week, Bailey Smith had that upwards of 80% CBAs, whereas this week it was more 50-50 between the two. We've said before that there's only one Bulldog mid you can trust. And I know that us two are owners, and I'm not sure, Jep, if you're an owner, but Marcus Bonton Bloody Pelly continues to put up good scores. I think that's now 5 of his last 6 games have been over 110.
No, of course I'm an owner. Love the bond.
Beautiful.
And
all three of us.
Yeah, he's 4 tons on the trot, and all of them been over 110. So really good. He's a Brownlow smoky. I think he knows it, but he's got Geelong this week, so dare I say I'll put time into him.
Yeah, I think Blitz Sales will probably. I'd imagine he'll go head to head. Could be O'Connor, but I think maybe they might do Blitz Sales.
Atkins as well.
Yeah, Atkins. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But he's been very, very good for owners, especially since round 4. Now, Jared Witts, with Darcy going down, we mentioned Gawn, and we said the play is probably to go up to English or Marshall. But is Witts a play with the fact that he's got that round 13 bye, Tim?
Hey, well, firstly, let's ask Jep, and I'll set Jep up for why you're asking this, because I know you're looking at bringing him in this week.
No, I wouldn't look at Witts personally. I would, I was actually thinking about this for the pod. What about Kieran Briggs? We already talked about GWS, but we skipped
I missed him actually. Yeah,
we skipped Briggsy, who's playing with intent and desire.
Looks good.
And comes against Richmond this week, North Melbourne and Freo till the round 15 bye. So is that a play? Pending bye round, obviously. But he's 540k, and this is the lockout's lifted, as you said. So break even of 17, something to look at potentially. So I'd much rather that than Witsy, who I don't think Witsy can push the top 2. And when you're paying $788,000, it's a hold for the season, isn't it? You don't want to be burning a couple of trades. For me, it's English, Royal Marshall, the clear top 2. And then if you want to get creative, I'd get creative with Kieran Briggs. Yeah.
Tim, I think trades have slightly changed with a player doing not too great in the game today, which we'll talk about. And we'll talk about trades obviously after, but I think I'm doing something a bit different. But I did mention to you last night that I was interested. Caleb Daniel, 106, just getting it done, but he's a bit like reminds me of Liam Baker, a bit of that guy can go anywhere, so I probably wouldn't be targeting him. Tim English, 95, not great, but he's under $1 million now. So for people that aren't owners, could be a very nice time to pick him up. Noah Anderson, 90. Been frustrating, Jep. I'm sure that you're probably just going to be holding and sticking fat with him, but not great when he's had a few scores under 100 in the last couple of weeks.
Sorry, Noah Anderson. Did you say?
What did I say, Noah Anderson?
I don't know. I missed that.
Yeah. I was saying Noah Anderson. I might have called him someone else, but Noah Anderson, yeah.
So, I'm not an owner, but I would be sticking with him. He's it's topsy-turvy with him. I think he's never really shown consistency in a season, that is. He's always up and down. That's what I've noted with him. So, I'd be holding him. Yeah.
McPherson and Buddy Smith, we mentioned Smith for McPherson, 67. Again, you probably stick with him because he's got, again, that handy buy. But, obviously you probably want a little bit more there. Bailey Humphrey, I've jumped on him this week, trying to get as many green dots as possible. And he looked good again with another 72. So I'm very happy that I was able to pick him up. And then scrolling down here, O'Donnell was able to score more than 10 points as well with a 45. And then, we obviously mentioned the Rat Pasta before. So, Tim, moving on to the next game.
Yeah, well, this is the game I was watching. Eagles were defeated by Essendon by 50 points, which I think was a win. At Optus. Look, one of the things that happened here was obviously O'Neill was a laid in. So I brought in Merritt. Didn't know about the laid in, didn't have time to change Merritt to Laird. But then one of the things I noticed in the first half, O'Neill was pretty much tagging Hobbs. But the popular trading option ended up finishing well anyway. And then, of course, Hunt owners would be stoked with that pick, I think. Probably one of the few positives out of the Eagles season.
Yep, yeah, 120. I think if you've still got him, you'd be definitely holding into his round 14 bye because he just keeps putting up good scores. I think he's had poor halves, but he's never really had a like since what was it round 9 and round 1 he went under 60 both times, but since then he's gone over 65 in every other game. So he's been very, very good. Liam Duggan, Jake from Hat Chat started him at the start of the year. Wasn't sure if he was going to play this week, but another 140. So he's putting up some decent numbers of late. So he's been good. A few Essendon guys racked up. Redmond 125. Jeppa, a guy that you flagged potentially is a guy that would be not a bit of a sneaky target there. Nick Martin 124.
Yeah, I was watching him, and look, I jumped on Hobbs in the end because I just had to. I had to fix one of my red dots on my bench, so it wasn't all bad. But yeah, he was fantastic, running really hard. Literally did not stop running the whole game. But yeah, a cheapo sort of fringe primo forward that you can look at.
Yep. Yes, he was good once again. But I'll put him, Ben Hobbs, who got 97, who was solid, and then even a Jai Caldwell who got 74. So not as big as the other guys, but are we still looking at them as targets, or has the boat sailed as that, like you've missed the West Coast match, you only got one more like nice matchup, and then they sort of head into their bye in round 14? Is the boat gone for them, or are they still targets?
I think it's gone. You don't want to be spending up too much cash, but at the same time, everyone's situation's different, right? So, yeah, what's Hobbsy is? I'll just tell you. Sorry, adjusted price
605.
Oh yeah, that hasn't adjusted. My computer's doing silly things. So yeah, 605 with a break even of whatever.
39.
Yeah, 39. So
yeah.
When you enter the sixes, I think you can find value elsewhere, can't you?
Yeah, I guess maybe for those coaches that are maybe cash strapped and they've got an Atkins and a Fiorini, maybe they can't go to anyone else. So maybe that could be a bit of a play there. But you maybe more keen on Nick Martin as that guy that could average that 90 mark?
Yeah, I think Nick Martin can go well, especially against North Melbourne in the short term. And if he gets a bit of confidence in the last couple of games, it could carry through. So, yeah, look, when you got Fiorini and guys like Atkins, you're going straight up to a premier. You're not mucking around, are you? We got 3 trades this week. You're really just hitting the big dogs.
Yeah, I agree. I think Merritt 111, as we mentioned. I think Tim Yoni said he only had about 7 minutes worth of the O'Neill tag, and that was in the third quarter. So,
yeah.
So a few people might have jumped at shadows, but we all thought that shadow was coming to Merritt. So you're a happy owner of Merritt now, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I actually even considered giving him the +3 this week. But look, I mean, primarily, he was just a target for me to get in over these buys this week. It'll be Laird.
Yep. He's a great target. McGrath just continues to do well since I got rid of him, so that's great. Another solid score, and he'll keep doing that. Elliot, can you consider it during the buys? I had a feeling Jet would say that.
Again, I feel like with 3 trades a week now, we're really not mucking around with some of these players. Maybe this week only, but no. You can't. We said it 10 times already. This pod, we can't be having injury-prone players and injuries through the bye rounds of the guys we bring in.
Yeah, Tim, were you a bit more interested, or were you still?
Oh, I mean, I'm interested just because I'm an Eagles fan. I want to see him play well, but yeah, no.
Ruben Ginby 67, so he put up another solid score. You probably can hold him another couple of weeks to his bye. He's a green dot. He'll play, which is good. So Dom Sheed 64 as well. So I feel sorry for any coach that jumped on him because he sort of returned back to the Dom Sheed from the first few weeks. I didn't actually watch the game, but another poor score for him there. Witherden, it was flagged that with Hearn back in, he'd score a bit more poor, and he only got a 60 there. So yeah, there you go, Tim. We'll move on to the Sunday games.
Yeah, sure. So just a bit of a reminder to people listening on Twitter or on YouTube, if there is a player that you want us to have a chat about, we've moved past, i.e. we've already talked about in the games, let us know. or if there's a player you want us to make sure that we talk about in the games coming up, let us know in the spaces below, and we'll chat about them before we finish up today. But let's get into the Sunday game. So Richmond defeated Port by defeated by Port by 10 points at the MCG. So we didn't really need to worry about the Port matchup when it came to putting the C on Taranto. Obviously went massive there. He's now the number one averaging player and total point scorer in the game. And then, of course, Rosie and Butters just did their thing.
Well, I believe that the 151st best player would have moved up inside the top 100 for Kano for this week. But he was amazing. Taranto, 33 disposals, 6 marks, 7 tackles, 4 goals, gave away a couple of free kicks. So that could have been even higher. And he kicked it behind. So he's just an absolute beast. We don't need to really talk about him much because he's amazing. And it's been said by a few people, and I agree, that he probably won't get as much credit just because everyone started with him, but he's been an amazing pick for all those coaches that started with him, which is a lot of us. And if you didn't, you've been left behind unless you got on him early. Connor Rosie, 102, solid score for him there. Butters, 101 as a non-owner. I was hoping he was going to go sub-100, but he went pretty well. So he continues to get it done. Ollie Wines, 84. I was a bit keen with his cheap price, but not with an 84, so I'm not as keen now. Dan Houston, Jeppa, I know you're an owner. He got 78. You might have won a bit more from that matchup. He probably going to hold him through. But would he be traded his buys, Jep?
Yeah, so he's one primo who's probably going to be traded at round 15, if not earlier. Yep.
Yeah. Ollie Lord, Jep, is he an option? 299k. I know he's a bit of a tall forward, but when we don't have as many rookies, is a defender forward rookie as well. Is any interest there?
Yeah, you're spot on. Though. Like, again, we don't typically look at tall forwards. But the Hawks next week, the Bulldogs, which you might have a tougher time against, and then Geelong. So what are we expecting, guys? 40 to 50?
Yeah.
Is it worth it at that price? Probably not.
Yeah, we've probably got a couple of options there, but I guess if there's nothing, then you might have to look at something like that. And then Dylan Williams was a bit of an odd one. It's been great, up to just under 500k, but 29 points in the first quarter, and I didn't even watch the first quarter, and I thought, here we go, and then I turned it on, and he scored 9 points in the next 2 quarters, and only ended up on a 56. But he's still been great. He's got defender status now, but might want a little bit more from a good matchup there against the Tigers. So next game, Tim?
Sure, mate. Collingwood defeated North by 35 points at Marvel. So pretty much all the Kangaroos were disappointing in this game, especially, if there were owners out there that brought in Simpkin, they'd be pretty disappointed as well. But Nick Dacos back to his scoring ways. And just also a note that I know plenty of coaches out there have been watching Darcy Cameron, who he had over 75% CBAs.
Yep. As the dogs go absolutely berserk in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but yeah, bloody dogs. Degoe was good, 127. As you mentioned, Dacos 116. Now, did any? I didn't watch this game, but did Buddy Scott or anyone have any attention with Dacos, or was he let free?
No, he's pretty much let free. A little bit of close checking here and there, but yeah, essentially did what he wanted.
Okay, yeah, beautiful. Now, Hugh Greenwood. I noticed a few people late last week were talking about him under 400, 537, 114. That round 15 buy is really cheap. Is anyone interested in could do a sideways switch from someone like an Atkins to him?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, mate. I wrote down some notes pre-pod, and he was top of the list. So 537,000 midfield only, break even of 14, round 15 buy, which sucks, but yeah, you're essentially bringing him for 3 weeks, and if he can keep 10 tackles plus, I think he's good for an 80 plus at minimum. So yeah, I would look at it. It's not going to be for everyone, but he's definitely cheap enough as someone who can average a ton for the next 3. And then obviously you're pre-planning the trade in round 15.
Yeah. A few people might have looked at a Bailey Scott last week. If you did jump on, you'd be happy with the 101. I think the boat sailed for that anyway, 641, so it's probably too expensive for people to look at that. Tom Mitchell, 112, was solid again. So if anyone out there that's got him, very happy. Probably more a draft relevant one there. Will Phillips, 90. So if anyone's still got him, you'd be happy that he got that score, and hopefully he can stay in the team for you through the buys. Zeeble, 88, just got the job done again. And then Harry Sheasel. Now, I did see that he went off a couple of times as injured. Did you boys see what happened to him at all?
No, yeah, he just copped what was it? A knock to the head, I think it was, and then came back on. But there was just confusion about whether he got subbed off, and there was, I think, a tweet that went out. So, yeah, he's all fine. Nothing really to worry about.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, looked a bit like that Rory Laird from a couple of weeks ago, where it said sub injured, and then they made the mistake. So, so certainly sent coaches into a frenzy. Okay, Darcy Cameron. Let's talk Darcy Cameron. A lot of coaches going to be interested in him, ruck forward, and not only that, but he comes up against West Coast, which, as Monk was saying on the Friday pod, West Coast for rucks is the best matchup in fantasy football at the moment. So you boys looking at it. Tim, I'll start with you, mate. Are you looking at Darcy Cameron?
He's been on my watch list for a couple of weeks now. So, I mean, look, it's obviously with lockout just lifting, I don't really know my trades for this week. He's not ideally who I want to bring in, but he's definitely someone I'm looking at because the flexibility it gives in that ruck line and with that matchup coming, I think he could be a really nice play during the buys.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like it just to cover the ruck line in the buy round. So you'd essentially have no red dots in that ruck line. So why wouldn't you? He's 667 grand, but a break even 100, not the end of the world because he should score that comfortably. And then also he did give 3 free kicks away. So, essentially adding 9 points to 79, 88 points, 75% time on ground, still building his time up. The only thing I'd be worried about is if West Coast, if they're killing West Coast, they vest him or look to manage him, given he's coming back from injury.
Yeah,
but I'm negative Nancy in the best of times. So, and I overthink everything. So, it probably won't happen. It's just something I'll flag.
The thing that I was most impressed with is he had 23 of 30 CBAs. So he had the lion's share of the ruck. So Mason Cox had 7, which was a bit surprising. So that's obviously very good. If he's going to be getting 23 CBA or getting that 70, 80% CBAs, then I think it's a great pick under 700K. And I'll be doing it, which will when we go through our trades later on. Jai Simpkin, I was a bit afraid that this would happen. People that jumped on him, only 69. He's just so up and down. I'm not really a fan. And if you've got him, you probably hold him through to his buys, but definitely frustrating there. Aaron Hall only got 59. If anyone out there's got him. George Wardlaw, 51. And I don't even have to ask anyone if you don't have George Wardlaw. Like myself, you definitely bring him in because he's going to play through the buys. So I'll be bringing him in this week. And I believe that's it.
Got 50% CBAs as well, so he's definitely got the role. Probably just, I think the Kangaroos just struggled in their scoring against the Pies, which we know is a tough matchup.
Yeah, and his time on ground bumped up a little bit as well to 66%. So if that can go to 70 next week, then you're happy. So beautiful.
All right,
Crowies.
So Adelaide defeating Brisbane by 17 points at Adelaide Oval. Primos did primo things. Rookies and Rochelle did rookie things. But, mate, I'm going to turn this over to you for your time in the sun. Tell us about Rory Laird.
Oh, mate. First of all, the umpiring and for both sides, I'm not going to say just for the Crows, but umpiring for both sides in this game was horrendous. So there you go. Jordan Dawson, I'll start with him first. He's got to be in the Brownlow hunt, I think. He was amazing again. Just his flexibility, took some kick-ins, did his thing in the midfield. I'm looking at him, hopefully, to get him in the next couple of weeks. But, Rory, Laird, 131 back-to-back weeks now. 957. He's got a break-even of 99, which I believe is the lowest his break-even's been since, all year. He hasn't had a break-even below 100. 700s in a row with only 2 of those under 110, and one of them was when he got injured in the last quarter and got subbed. Well, not injured, but winded and got subbed out. So I know you boys don't own Laird, and I know, Jep, you talk about the big dogs and want to target them, and with round 14 premiums at a bit of a premium, there's not many of them. Is he a guy that is at the top of your shopping list?
He is, very much so. You know what's weird about Laird? He scores 131 from 73% time on ground.
Ridiculous.
So for an inside mid, obviously they just rotate him that a little bit extra, but he just gets it done. His points per minute is just through the roof. He gave away 2 free kicks as well. Yes, I'm looking at it for this week, believe it or not, weirdly. I think I can make it work if the rooks are available and the young kids come in, Faye being one of them. So, yeah, no mucking around, straight to the top, as Calvin would say. And he will be in my team by round 16. Round 15, that's for goddamn sure.
Before I go to Timmy here, his time on ground is very odd because obviously everyone knows I love Laird. I watch him closely. He played like what would have been mid-80s percentile on ground in the first and third quarter. But the second quarter, he only played like 53% game time because he has this thing where he comes off for a bit, about 7 minutes in, then he comes off towards the end of the quarter, and sometimes he just rests the whole quarter. So it's very odd, but he still put scores up nonetheless. But yeah, Tim, I know you were interested last week. This week, I'm sure that he's going to be a target for you.
Yeah, mate. Like Jep said, though, it's just
if it can work.
I'm just keen on the kids. Who am I going to be trading to bring him in?
Yeah, that's right. Josh Dunkley, 112. So he's looked very good the last 5 weeks. Had that one score below 110. So he's had 4 scores in his last 5 over 110. So he's been very good. And yeah, he looks at home in that midfield role. So he's going to be good moving forward. Ben Keys played midfield. I know Keys from Keeper League was very happy to see him back in the midfield at 5. He's 564k, but you just can't trust him being midfield. And he was tagging Lockie Neal as well. So that was probably why. Big Riley O'Brien had a big last quarter to get to his 104. So he was solid. Lockie Neal, is anyone interested in him post-buy? He's at a cheap price, but I will just sort of, before anyone answers, I was keen. But after looking at some of the matchups, I expect probably a tag in all these games. So Hawthorn, Nash could tag him. Sydney, I'm sure he'll get a tag there. St Kilda could cop a tag from Ross. Richmond won't get a tag, but O'Neill could go to him round 17 against the Eagles. And then Melbourne, then Geelong, who could put attention. So is anyone interested after me saying that, or are we still just not touching him?
I'm not touching him. I don't think he is a top 8 midfielder from this point to the end of the season. I'm sure he'll have great games where he scores 120, but in the long haul of it, like you said, he's the number 1 tag still at Brisbane. Bit handball happy because he's got such good hands as an inside player. And yeah, the other opposition teams, even if they don't tag him, they physically into him every week. So not for me.
Yeah. Tim, Josh Rochelli, 60 points there. So probably not exactly what you'd want. He's dropping a bit of cash. Are you just going to hold him through to his buy at round 14, or is maybe this still chance he's going for you?
The plan was this week that he would be going to Laird. So it's just a matter of how I get him there. But the rat pastor have put their heads on the chopping block, but we just got to make sure it works buy-wise, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Luke Pedler, the cyclist, another solid enough score. I'll be holding him through to his buy if I've got him. And Jet, would you be advising people probably to do that, maybe hold him through to his buy?
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's solidified himself in that 22, and that's what you need, knowledge of through the buy round. So, yeah, why would you trade him?
Yeah, he's been so good for the Crows, actually. He's kicked 2 goals in each of his last 5 games bar last week. So he's just been consistent and very, very good. Wilmot, 42. A lot of coach will probably hold him just because he's a green dot and because coach probably got other guys that want to move. But I think you'd be happy to move him if you want to. But I think the big talking point, and this will be the final play we talk about before we move into any players that you guys have said that we might have missed, but Will Ashcroft. So 46. We've got to remember at the end of the day, he's a rookie. He obviously doesn't score as well outside of the Gabba. 92 break even on the buy this week. I'm looking at trading him. Are any of you boys, and I'll start with Jep, are you looking at moving an Ashcroft on this week?
I've already traded him 2 weeks ago, and then he went 115 and 120 odd. So my opinion probably doesn't matter here. First year player, but nevertheless, he loves playing at home. So I thought because it was wet today, watching the game, he probably got a bit physically intimidated by some of the bigger Adelaide mids, and he didn't want to go in as hard and rough as he probably needs to for one. And yeah, I think he knows he's going to get smashed around. So yeah, look, ultimately, is Ashcroft a top 8 midfielder? No. So, are you trading an Ashcroft to Laird? Then I would recommend it. It's just when you do it, right? So
Yeah.
He's probably someone good to hold through the buy rounds. It's just about how much cash he's dropping and playing the money game, really. But eventually Ashcroft gets traded. It can be now, and play the money game. Money's precious. I know it is for my team anyway, so I'd probably say trade.
Yeah, when I go through my trades, I'll explain why I'm trading him out. But Tim, are you looking at moving Ashcroft out?
Not when I've got
the Rat Pasta,
Rochelle and Rat Pasta, I imagine he's not. No, he's not on a bye next week. He's playing at the Gabba, I imagine. So I imagine he's probably going to turn up. So
no, Ashcroft's got the bye this week. Then he's at the He's at the MCG against the Hawks, at the Gabba against Sydney, and then he's at Marvel against St Kilda. So 2 of his next 3 games are away from the Gabba.
Yeah, look, I mean, it seems like a good time to trade him, right, for those teams that are probably in the position to do so. But I think I've got bigger problems.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of the Dacos move last year. Some coaches jumped off at the bye, which was fine, and then he probably put a few good scores on after, which he could do, but he's still a rookie.
Still got the CBAs. I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, why he can't score away from the Gabba? And I haven't really looked into it any detail. I don't know whether they play him in a slightly different role or less time on ground when he's flying or anything like that. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the games, Tim.
Sure. All right. Well, let's do a quick update on the AFL Content Creators Cup, proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth, helping you reach your financial goals faster, where winning coaches will get $5,000 for their favourite charity, and reminder that there's something special for every coach available too. I know a lot of the podcasts have been kind of promoting it, which we obviously appreciate. But look, one of the things to know, guys, is don't head to the website. I know some of them are just telling you to head to the website. Don't head to the website because you won't find it. The thing that I'm making available for AFL fantasy coaches, if you go to the website, it's for sale for almost $3,000. So this is something available for fantasy coaches only. You have to go to infinitewealth.com.au /AFL fantasy. That's the only way you can get a contact with it. It's a 5-module online learning program called the Fast Track to Freedom. Basically, it's a program that sets you up, kind of teaches you about how the multimillionaire that I taught me how to buy 13 properties and retire by the age of 27, and kind of walks you through your financial circumstances and the kind of things that you can do for your own personal situation to advance yourself as well. Learn how to pay your mortgage off up to 3 times faster, save thousands on your tax every year, and how to build your wealth and replace your income. And that is at infinitewealth.com.au /AFL fantasy. So, let's just do a bit of an update on where all the coaches are sitting. So there's been some big movers. Like I said at the start of the pod, Sanch, man, has been flying up the ranks the last couple of weeks. He had the VC, which he looped on Sicily this week, and he is now now inside the top 1,000. He's leading, ranked at 983.
I'm just very happy for Sanch as well, also, because he did put the captaincy on Callum Mills a couple of weeks ago. So that VC on Sicily and this week made up for a little bit for that. So very happy for Sanch.
Can you imagine how he'd be going if he didn't do that?
Oh, mate.
But Mitch is another one who's been moving from Ball Boys. He's now in the 1270. Like I said, I slid out to 1358, so I'm in third overall. Destroy also had a bit of a tough week as well, 1606. Statesman's back at 2,500. Miller time from Break Even Pod 3,335. Louis from Pod at just over 5,000, and then Doe from Junk Time Janitors at just under 7,000. So looks like while Sanch and Mitch climbed, a few of us slid back a little bit this week, which probably not surprising since the scoring, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 4 weeks with buys.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I have had a bit of a look through the notes there. There's not really any players that we haven't discussed, so I just want to talk quickly about trade targets before we kind of wrap it up for the night. But Jeff, I want to turn to you, mate. I mean, obviously, you're the rookie expert, and to get these kind of big dog players in, and maybe they're a bit easier to pick this week. But who are the rookies that we're looking to bring in?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because I actually came prepared. So I went through some VFL games, not that appealing, to be fair, but Ned Long had a massive game in the VFL, 30-plus possessions. He is 386,000. Wouldn't be surprised to see him come in for Hawthorn this week. Oliver Dempsey had a good game for Geelong as well, with their injury rose. Just, do you trust Chris Scott? I thought Josh Worrell, although he's 380 odd grand, actually, I should be check that now that it's updated. He's 381, so he got
played very, very
he
well.
actually played really well, in my opinion. But defender only round 14, we've got plenty of those. So there are a few. I've also just noted Taron Thomas, 475 grand for those game enough for another round 15 buy play with a history of issues. Briggsy, I mentioned before, as the Greenwood. And then Sparrow forward without Oliver, I thought he played really well as well. He's got forward status, but he obviously took most of the centre bounces, but he is 597 grand. But yeah, the bare bones rooks, not a lot. Weirdly, Geelong, we're probably relying on Geelong. And in saying that, it's not positive at all. So yeah, James Madden came on as a sub for Brisbane today. It's just this sub-vest rule was just screwing us over quite a lot.
It's killed us.
So I suppose keep an eye out during the week. Let's see how the teams and suspensions, injuries, etc. unfold, because, Sicily Hollins, Seamus Mitchell, Rory Atkins, Sean Darcy, there's a lot to deal with for coaches in the first week of the buys. There
was one rookie that I know JS Collingwood supporter in our group chat mentioned we'd still side bottom going out. He mentioned Ed Allen could potentially also get a game. So is he a guy that coach could put on their list?
Yeah, he's definitely a winger. So it's a like for like. Who knows how Collingwood want to structure up. One to look at, Harvey Harrison from the Pies have been playing well for a long time as well. And they got Josh Carmichael, who had a massive game on the weekend. I know he's not a winger, but they could shuffle a few things around. That's a good example of what to watch during the week. What's his name? Finn McRae as well, who can play the wing role. So let's see what happens.
Yep, and then hopefully a Binns or a Chincott or someone can come back in for coaches.
Collingwood got West Coast next week too. Here at Optus. So that's, it wouldn't surprise me if a Finn Callahan came in, and he probably deserves the game and would be one that would get games elsewhere if it wasn't for the Pies being up and about. And he is is it Finn McRae? What's his first name? It's not.
Finlay McRae. I was going to say, because you said Finn Callahan. I was going to say that's interesting.
Sorry,
Finlay
McRae, 290 grand mid forward. I think he's due, and if I'm a betting man, he'll be ahead of Allen. But WA home crowd, wouldn't it be fitting for Ed Allen to make his debut against West Coast? He's not someone I would look at personally, because I don't think he'll be there in the long haul. I think Finlay McRae's done the time, knows the system, knows what he needs to do for Collingwood. If he gets that first crack at it, then sure, 290 grand, you'd look at it. And he can find the footy. That's it.
Yep.
It's dire.
Yep.
Like,
awesome.
It really is dire.
It is. It's dire, man. It's going to be one hell of a week, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm going to try work through a trade, I think, with Hugh Greenwood, just as a cash gen thing. I'm pretty lucky when I don't have to deal with Sean Darcy. You'd say Sean Darcy is a week's problem. So whether coaches hold this week and trade round 13, because that's more of a luxury trade round, is another tactic. Yeah, lots to unpack. Lots of different strategies. As I said at the top of the pod, this is where we sort of get separated from the good planned coaches to the rest, really.
I wonder which side of the fence I'm going to fall on.
Well, hopefully it's on the right side, mate. And
yeah.
We'll see. It's all calculated, isn't it? Nothing crazy, nothing high risk in the buy period. Yeah. Anyone with good job security, because in a blink of an eye, you could have 2 injuries and 1 suspension to deal with in round 14.
Yeah. All right. Well, plenty to play out this week. Yeah, mate. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you as always, mate. Where can people find you?
Jeppa DT and at the Plus 6 podcast as well. It'll be normal week for Pete and I, and looking forward to playing with trades as soon as I jump off.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Well, thanks for joining us.
What just before you go to meet him, what trades are you looking at, Jep, ahead of this week? Have you got an idea?
I think I'm going to generate some cash, so probably bring in Darcy Cameron and Greenwood, which to me, the Darcy Cameron solves the donut not donut, but the ruck split problem in terms of rotation. So Marshall at the utility or McAndrew, whatever, and play English and Darcy Cameron, and I can rotate it through the bye rounds pretty well. Greenwood for the cash gen, and then the third trade to get enough cash in the bank for Andrew Brayshaw next week. So that was always pre-planned. I watched the Collingwood North Melbourne game and Greenwood really closely. I'll probably sadly watch it again because I have no life, and make a call on that during the week.
Awesome. Sweet. All right. Well, Bales, what about you, mate? What are you going to look at doing this week?
Yeah, so obviously mentioned before about Ashcroft. He's going for me because it facilitates my moves. So I'm going. So Sean Darcy was actually pre-planned to be going at this bye anyway. I was going to be going him to English, and with Ashcroft doing not as well as what I wanted him to, it actually makes it that I can do that. So I'm going Darcy to English. I'm going Ashcroft all the way down to George Wardlaw because I paid up for Humphrey and Wedden on bench last week. So I'd be happy to play Humphrey on my field for obviously a few weeks with the aim to get him up to a premium at post the bye, and then I'll have that rookie off field. So doing that, and then I'll also be going hopefully Atkins if I can do that, but it could be Fiorini. One of those two will go to Darcy Cameron, which means that I'll have the two rucks play next week. And yeah, just very, very happy that I'll be able to get Tim English in my side finally, not have to watch him put up these big scores. But just a word of warning for people that have got English, he's probably going to go crap now, the fact that I'm bringing him in. That seems to be what happens when I bring Primos in. So apologies in advance.
Awesome, mate. Well, where can people find you?
At BalesDT on Twitter and at YouTube at trulybailshd. And for people watching on YouTube, I'll answer a couple of questions that you guys have straight after this. And yeah, appreciate all of you that tune in on YouTube there, and all of you legends that tune in on the Twitter space as well, as always. And Tim, what are you looking at doing this week, mate?
Mate, I got no idea. The original plan was to trade down some rookies, but the cupboard is bare. So yeah, I mean, it may be Ashcroft may come into contention this week. Yeah, there might be some moves happening there, but I'm not entirely sure. It's a bit too early with obviously 3 trades and lockout just opening. So yep, that's what this week, and 7 pods are for that we're all in the league together.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Moves. But
and where can the people find you, Tim?
Oh, yeah, well, look, I was just going to say big thanks to everyone for joining us, and, of course, in particular, for those that sent in players that you want to just talk about. Make sure you can send your questions to us on Twitter, and please give us a follow at AFL Fantasy Fans, and don't forget to tune in to us each week, not only after the final sign for the round for the live Twitter space, but we also do our pre-lockout Twitter space normally at about 4 o'clock, 4:30 Western Standard.
Yep.
Sort of 6:30,
6 p.m. for the Eastern States. Yeah.
But apart from that, you can also find these spaces on AFL Fantasy Fanatics podcast wherever you get your podcasts. So please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. And people can find me at Tim Guest AU. But apart from that, I hope everyone has a great week. I hope you can figure out what the hell your trade's going to be for next week. And all the best for round 12.
Good luck for the buys, guys. Cheers.
See you later.
Perfect. Thanks, Jep.
Easy.
Appreciate all you guys tuning in. We got the audio issues sorted, which is great. We had issues with the podcast and then last night, but it's all sort of able to play and work. So we'll get through all the questions. And yes, I know my boy has been suspended. So yeah, I'll be doing daily news recap in a sec. Pretty much once I've finished recording this, I'll record the day news recap, and obviously that'll be the biggest talking point of today. So yeah. But yeah, if you're watching live, 22 watching live now, so appreciate you guys tuning in. If you've got any questions, trades wise and stuff, or just any questions general, leave them in the chat below. Go for maybe 10, 15 minutes, answer some questions, and then we'll wrap up for the night, and then I'll get to recording the day news recap. I've got the hair right on the end of my hat. It's doing my head in. There we go. So let's go. James Crab 99. Which trades do you reckon are better? Ashcroft, Warner, and Darcy for Laird, English, Weddle. Obviously, with Laird suspended, with 8K cash to the bank, or Laird, Cameron, and De Goey. So Laird, English, Weddle, Laird, Cameron, De Goey. I think I still prefer Laird, English, Weddle, but obviously Laird will have to be someone else at this stage, unless they challenge and he gets off, which I think they'll challenge it, and I'm hopeful he gets off. So I would go Laird, English, Weddle, but if Laird's not playing, you could probably go Merritt if you don't have him, James, or another primo mid instead. But yeah, hopefully Laird gets off. I know a lot of people are targeting this week. So, but yeah, Laird, De Goey, and Cameron isn't a bad option because Cameron and De Goey could go well. But I think I'd still rather bank and get the number one ruck in English. Moving down here, we've got Connor Johns. Have Laird already? Is Merritt the best prem option? Yep. If you've got Laird already, I think Merritt is probably the best option. If you don't have Dawson's probably another good option as well. But I'm sure most people have got Dawson. I don't, which is really annoying. I want to get him at some point. But yeah, I would grab Merritt. I think he's a good buy. He's got the round 14 buy, which is great. Works out well. Round 15, a lot of people are heavy on, so I probably wouldn't recommend many of those options. And you're not going any of the round 13 guys like Anderson. I don't think he hasn't been too great last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think Merritt's the best option there. Connor says, I'm thinking of trading Darcy to Witts, Hollands to Mullen, and Wilmot to Greenwood. Leaves me with 231k in the bank, and going off last week's teams, it leaves me with 20 green dots on field. Yep. Yeah, I don't mind that. I'll tick those off. I'm assuming you've obviously got Ward, Says there. So yeah, I like them. I'd tick those three off. I don't mind them at all. Connor John's top priorities to trade out Atkins, Warple, Cripps, and Ashcroft. At the moment, reading Ashcroft up to trading Ashcroft up to Merritt and 2 red dots to green dots just because Ashcroft had the buy. Yeah, well, I'm trading Ashcroft at this stage. He'll be going for me. It just helps my own team by being able to get both Cameron and English. But you certainly do not have to trade Ashcroft at all. But in terms of like the guys there, if Cripps is out, obviously he's got to go. Atkins could get dropped, so he's probably got to go. And then obviously you've got Ashcroft there as well. I think Warple out of those guys is probably the one that can stay till round 14 who's by, and then you can trade him then. Says Laird has 1 week. Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, I know. Yeah, it's a shame. Connor Johns, I've said, yeah, that's the one I said as well. V Clamp XS7995. Is Ashcroft a go or a hold? I think that depends very much on team. Like my own team, I'm able to get Darcy, Cameron, and Tim English, so Ashcroft is going for me. Whereas there are going to be other teams that are probably going to need him in rounds 14 and 15. So he is a good hold because they do have some good matchups. But it's pretty much, I think, team dependent. You might need to trade him, but then some other coaches might have to hold. But for me, I'm trading. But I think you can. It's either or. It's very much team dependent, I think. James Crabb. If Laird's week gets upheld, who is the best target? 965k or under? You don't have Dawson. Dawson probably be my pick. With Laird being out. Merritt's also good. Trying to think of all those teams. Going through them. No, because you obviously want, if you got that much money, you probably want to spend it. If you want to save money, to go is not the worst option. To go down as like a buy play. Obviously Brayshaw's great, but he's obviously more expensive and got the buy. I'm going through them alphabetically. Giants got around 15, so you're probably not looking for any of those guys. Tom Green's not a bad option if you can get around 15 guy. Petrarca, maybe. I'd still prefer Merritt personally. St Kilda, no, I wouldn't get Steele and Passer on buy as well. Sydney, no. West Coast, no. Bulldogs. Bond's not a bad call either, but again, round 15 buy might not be exactly what you want. So a couple of those guys there, probably Dawson and Merritt are probably my 2 picks if you are not looking for round 15 buy player. Says, do we go for Witts or down to Briggs for the extra cash grab? again, depends on buys. I think says if you've got too many round 15 players already, I don't mind getting Wits as like a buy play, and you can get rid of him after. But if you need that extra cash, if round 15 is fine for you, then I don't mind getting Briggs for a bit of a cash grab. But yeah, you just have to have a plan B if he was to get dropped or something happens and you got to move off him. But yeah, global. Ridley has his roll back. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's got his roll back, so he's cheap. Round 14 buy. I know a lot of defenders have got that buy, but if he works for your team, then he's not the worst option in the world, especially with North Melbourne this week. Yeah, North Melbourne this week. So Ben Hayes is Whitfield, Greenwood, and Bailey Scott. Good ins. I already have led. You have led. Sorry. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, he's suspended. But Whitfield, Greenwood, Bailey Scott, if they work for your buys, yep, don't mind it. You are bringing in 3 round 15 players, though, so I'd just be a bit wary of that, Ben, if it works for your buys. But I like Whitfield. Greenwood's a nice, cheap option. Bailey Scott, I'm not sure about. He's a bit more expensive now. But if you're keen, then you can jump on if it works for your buys. Oliver Bartel, I've done these trades. Sean Darcy to Kieran Briggs, and then Pedler to Hobbs and Greenwood and Wilmot to Greenwood. So Wilmot to Greenwood, Pedler to Hobbs, Darcy to Briggs. Yeah, I don't mind it. You're probably getting a bit of cash there as well. I don't mind if it works for your buys, Oliver. I don't mind them. Oh yeah, hang on. So James Crabb was looking at either. Already got merits, either Dawson or the Bond. I'd probably go Dawson. You're probably going to work better for your buys, and he's going to be a top 2-3 defender anyway. So I'd probably go Dawson. He's a little bit cheaper, and as I said, the better buy. So I'd probably go Dawson out of the two. But both are good options. I've got the Bond. And he's been great. Why are you going Cameron over Briggs? Because he's got ruck forward status. Because I've got Marshall and English in my side, and then next week I'm going to have all 3, and I want to play all 3 on field, so that's why I'm going Cameron. And I like the West Coast matchup as well, and he's coming back from injury, looked better last week, and I think he'll just continue to build on that. So I like Darcy Cameron. Oliver Bartel, or I could do Darcy to Gawn or Wits, Wilmot to Mullen, and Pedler to Greenwood. I think I prefer the first one. She said Oliver there. Connor Johns, if Cripps is out, thoughts on Sharp to Mullen, Ashcroft to Hobbs or Greenwood, and Cripps to Merritt? If Cripps is out, yeah, Cripps to Merritt would be good. Sharp to Mullen, I guess you're getting rid of a red dot, so I'd probably tick that off as well. And then Ashcroft to Hobbs or Greenwood. I'm thinking maybe that the Ashcroft trade, you probably want to get up to someone a bit better, like almost a keeper type player, because you're obviously going Sharp to Mullen, so you're making a bit of cash there, and you're going Cripps to Merritt, which is obviously a little bit there, but maybe you could go Ashcroft to DeGoey if you can do that, Connor. But if not, I guess if you're making the cash there and getting a Hobbs or a Greenwood is a good play there. So is it time to sell Samson Ryan and maybe upgrade to Briggs for cash gen and cover? Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Obviously, Samson Ryan was subbed out, so he might not play next week. So yeah, you could go and get Briggs as cover. I don't mind it. Oliver Bartel, I have Dawson, Dacos, Sinclair, Sheezel, Will Day, Rioli, Taranto, Tom Green, Merritt, Paddy Smith, McRae, Warple, Ashcroft, Humphrey, Marshall, Briggs, Butters, Rosie, Pedler, Seamus, Mitchell, and Gordon, then Dunkley. Yep. Yeah, it's a nice team. Nice team. You're obviously working towards getting all those rookies off field, so I like it. I like a couple of good uniques in there as well. So, all right. Well, if that is all the questions, then obviously answered a heap last night, and not too many today. But appreciate you guys tuning in as always. I'm obviously going to record the daily news recap now, which will be a bit of a bummer with Laird being suspended. But hey, hopefully they challenge, hopefully he gets off, and then we don't have to worry about it and we see Laird on the weekend. But if he doesn't play, then yeah, I'll be another man down. But I've got probably a bit more than most other people have got this week. So who are the best players on the 757k in any position not from the round 14 bye? 757k. I had a look. There's not a lot. Says it's really hard. You're probably looking at going down to a Hobbs or a Greenwood instead, because there's not many in that price range either don't have the round 14 buy or aren't really good options. Because like 757, you're looking at guys like Like I would have said to Goey, but you've said that you don't want a round 14 buy. Like Lockie Ash, if you want to go there, I'm an owner. He's got a good run coming up. So if you want to jump on him for a few weeks, you could, but he's at an awkward price. Doesn't have a low break in, so like he's going to make you a lot of cash there. Gorn, he's only a ruck. He obviously didn't get the forward status, but maybe him. Bailey Dale is a nice option down back there, 728. Dylan Moore, I like at 714k, but again, round 14, you said you don't want a round 14 player there. Yeah, they're probably the options looking at those names there. There's a couple there, but not too bad. Without the round 12 buy. Well, I pretty much just said all there anyway. So yeah, any of those guys I like with the round 15 buy as well, or round 14 buy. And you already got Hobbs and Greenwood. Yeah, so yeah, maybe DeGoey. Probably be one of my picks there, or Bailey Dale or Dylan Moore. Probably they're my top three. But yeah, so anyway, that'll do it. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you did enjoy the stream, make sure you leave a like. It really helps out the channel and gets the video obviously to more people, as I mentioned pretty much on most videos now. If you haven't subscribed yet, bottom right-hand corner, we're only 4 subscribers away now from 1,100 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you do turn notifications on so you don't miss when I go live or upload any other content in the future, like the daily news recap coming out within the next, hopefully, hour or so, depending on when I get it edited and exported and all that type of stuff to upload on YouTube. All my social media links in the description below. Make sure you go and follow all of those. And if you want to go extra for the channel as well, if you want to donate, then there's a super chat button there. So feel free to use that, but it is not necessary. I'm just, as long as you subscribe, then that's all that matters. So I appreciate you guys. As always, I'll be back, obviously, as I said, tonight for Day News Recap. And then tomorrow will be my own team round review. And then I'll probably go through how many players I got on buys. So if you want to tune into that, I'll be doing that video as well. And then Trade Talk Wednesday. And then obviously the usual content will come out later in the week. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll catch you guys later in the week. Good luck for the rest of the week, guys. And hopefully your trades are going okay. And hopefully we won't get any more carnage. So that'd be nice. But anyway, I'll speak to you guys soon. I'm out. Cheers.